welcome to the Lighten Up podcast with Lauren Polly, your invitation for living on the lighter side of life. I'm Lauren Polly, and I am delighted you have chosen to join me today for episode 192, Being Seen. Today we're going to cover some tools and some tips on being more comfortable with being visible. Some of you who may be in business and have been looking for a bigger reach, larger audience, more receiving of that, then this episode is for you. Those of you who don't have that and are actually looking at being seen more in their day-to-day life, being seen with more intimacy, perhaps, with your relationship partners, being seen at work and getting acknowledged for your accomplishments there. This conversation can work on many different levels. Regardless of what we're looking at creating, a lot of us have resistance to being seen. And sometimes it's not that we don't want to be seen at all. We are just so invested in being seen one way that we start to kind of hide or make secret or downplay other aspects of ourselves. Those of you who are connected with me on social media have probably seen already, but I have a 4-story digital billboard in Times Square currently. My multi-award winning book, The Other Side of Bipolar, has been selected as Book of the Year by a television network, and they put me up on a big billboard in the heart of Times Square. It's very exciting. It's also very big and very visible here in the heart of Broadway, and my head literally is maybe 2, if not 3 stories tall of that billboard. So it's kind of a fascinating week for me, stepping up into greater visibility and the response that's gotten. It's basically catapulted a lot of conversations in my own world about being more visible, all aspects of myself. It's also catalyzed a lot of conversation with my personal coaching clients and my workshop participants on being more visible in all aspects. And again, if you're looking at a business and being more visible that way, this applies. And then also personally, being able to allow all of yourself to be seen and acknowledged by those around you. There's a couple different things I'd like to touch on with this conversation. First, I think, is the misnomer or the misidentification that being seen means you need to shout everything about you from the rooftops, meaning that you have to have a billboard in Times Square. That's not necessary. That's just kind of a fun bauble that I've added to my repertoire. A lot of times we think that, though. We go, oh, well, if I'm going to be seen for this creative side of me or this like sexy side of me, instead of just being like the together mom that's all buttoned up, or this professional, we have these like aspects, these roles that we put forward for the world to see more than others. And in the process, we end up cutting down on the multidimensional aspects of our being. So it's only okay to really be seen in one light in one certain scenario. Perhaps that's based on your past because it was taught to you that way, or perhaps you received good and positive judgment for only being seen as the perfect mom or the perfect professional or the perfect business person who has all their stuff together. Perhaps you received negative judgment in the past when you let your wild side out, or you let your soft, mushy side out when you were supposed to be in a hardcore business meeting. We have negative and positive judgments thrown on us constantly, and it's quite fascinating and also quite terrifying to look at how often our foot forward in the role, what we're willing to be seen as, what we're willing to be acknowledged and received as, is colored by those judgments that have come our way in the past. This conversation is really an invitation to strip that back and start to look for yourself first and foremost. Again, not needing to have a billboard or yelling it from the rooftops, but first and foremost, just to have all of those aspects of yourself be present for you. How often have you really gone into the positive judgment of what is okay to be seen as, and gone away from the negative judgment of what's not okay to be seen as? So much so that you've created a costume, a role, a persona of you that you are then, an image of you that you're putting out into the world. And how much is that actually cutting back on the creative exploration of who you can be and what you can create? Truth be told, we are not one-dimensional people. We have many aspects of ourselves, but we live in a world that is very comfortable with definition. They are very comfortable with, I know exactly who you are, this is the box you fit in, this is how we've interacted in the past, you're nice and relatable as you are, so just stay that way kind of thing. And when you're having these conversations about being more seen and visible and acknowledged and more of a wholeness of you, it can get quite confronting because that stuff comes up. What if it was more first steps, baby steps about allowing all of that to be visible to you first and foremost? So everywhere you've turned a blind eye to other aspects of yourself, could you just allow that to actually be more full and present? Could you open your own eyes to the fact that, wow, I've really suppressed my creative side or my caregiver side or my professional side? We do that sometimes too. And in what way can you actually start exploring in your day-to-day life being more of that multifaceted creature? Maybe make a list, make it super practical. What are the different aspects of you? Which one do you favor? In which scenarios? And what are the ones that you would love to reawaken, to tickle awake? And beyond all of that, after that becomes more comfy, cozy, and kind of an acceptable, allowable thing for you to go, okay, yes, I have all these sides. I'm engaging them with it in my way. What then would be the step to actually allow yourself to be seen as that to a bigger audience, to more people? To expand your comfort zone so that the people at work are seeing all of you, not just this thing that they think you are. The people in your personal life are seeing all of you, not just what they think it is. And to allow all of that to actually be seen in the world so that you actually start drawing in people who actually acknowledge all of your being. It was quite confronting this week, not only having the billboard up and getting all of the amazing response to that, but I had shown it to my boss at the hospital where I manage a department. And that to me is kind of a growing edge. Having my book out in the world, of course, about my history with mental health issues, has been confronting in a myriad of ways, kind of growing up being stigmatized with it and having to hide it no matter what. It was very tricky to pull back the curtain first and foremost, like I said, to myself and let myself unwind all of that to look at what actually was there and was true for me. And then to start putting it out there so that other people, of course, once they read the book or listen to me talk, go, wow, you've actually been through all that stuff. There was a comfort zone with having that as an expressible, visible part in my business. Then all of a sudden this week, actually bringing it into the hospital and being like, look what I created. Here's a billboard on Times Square. It's kind of like coming out of the closet, so to speak, of someone going, wow, you actually had that diagnosis. You worked your way through. It was such a fascinating aha for me because no matter how visible I have been thus far, that was a place I was still being a little less than visible. Not necessarily lying or hiding about it. I mean, it was present in my own space. But to be able to just actually go, you know what, everybody can see this now. And everybody can think no matter what they want to think about it, but it doesn't have to be something that I don't speak to, was really a huge thing. And it again brought up this thing of like, wow, that's a role that I've taken on in that professional environment that has kind of excluded this other aspect to myself. So I'm just inviting in this conversation, and I put that out there in my own personal way because I know a lot of you have done work around this. I know a lot of you have actually stepped more into the authenticity of you. You're being you out in the world. Even with those of us who've been doing that for a long time and continue to grow and become more visible, we still have aspects of our life that are a bit more defined and role-based. And they are a bit more, perhaps, hiding different aspects of ourselves or not letting that actually be as fully expressed as we would desire it to be. Start to look for yourself, not from a place of judgment, from a place of, okay, well, I wonder if I just let that out a little bit more, what it could create. And there is some kind of like brilliance and smarts to it. If you know you're going into a professional environment, you do not have to dump all your personal baggage out. That's probably not the best scenario. If you're entering into a personal relationship, it's nice to kind of let that kind of fun side out. You don't have to play it straight up tight-laced all the time. I mean, there are scenarios and situations where your modulation of what you show to people and what you allow to be super visible actually does make sense. My bigger question with this is, as you're doing that, as you're putting that foot forward in that scenario, are you closing off those aspects of yourself to you? Are you remaining a little bit more hidden? And what judgments, positive or negative, are you actually buying into along the way? More than anything, this show, Lightening Up, is really about allowing yourself to continue to explore and push your creative edges. When you're honest with who you are and you allow all aspects of yourself to start to develop and go bigger and become more full, to be seen as that for yourself first and foremost, and others by extension, the wholeness and the richness of life comes about in a big, big, big way. Again, you don't have to shout it from the rooftops. You don't have to get super loud about it. There may be times and scenarios where you put one foot forward and one foot forward over here, playing the game, so to speak, playing into what will create the most. But watch and be very aware of where you are hiding or making secret or pulling away from all aspects of you. I find the more and more that I do this, and the more and more that I allow everything to be seen, and at least everything to be present with myself, no matter where I am or who I'm talking to, the more ease that I have. There isn't a lot of energy that I'm wasting anymore trying to hide things, trying to be perfect so nobody sees my kind of vulnerable underbelly, which so many of us get stuck in. Trying so hard to really project an image into the world that I don't truly believe or actually truly enjoy. There's a relaxed quality that actually starts to come when you allow yourself to be seen and to be acknowledged for that. One other thing to just keep in mind, so many of us go, well, if I want to be seen, it's because I actually want to be received as that thing. Meaning somebody in your life will go, wow, isn't it wonderful that you're this? It doesn't always work that way, unfortunately. The receiving is up to the receiver. It's not up to you, the one who's being it. So keep that in mind as you're playing with these tools of actually allowing yourself to be more visible, playing with other aspects of you, perhaps speaking to something that you haven't spoken to a while, showing a different side to yourself. If it's not well received, if it's not met with a positive judgment, look to see where you may be shutting yourself down in response to that. And also just know that's up to them. It's not your job to make it be about them receiving you or not. It's, are you okay? Are you feeling good with what you're putting out into the world? Are you feeling whole and exploratory and also relaxed because you're no longer having to put a false foot forward? These tools are for you, they're not for other people. Can you use them as such to actually increase your own experience of living, in your own sense of self, your own sense of confidence and being you in the world? It may be something big like me where you're taking a business and going for a bigger audience. And, the Times Square thing is just so super fun and sparkly. Being able to kind of do things like that and have a bigger reach in the world, absolutely. And like I said, this may be a very intimate exploration that kicks off from here. Perhaps it's you being seen differently with the most intimate relationships you have, showing a different side to your family, showing a different side to your close friends, going into your job that you've had forever and actually allowing your other skill sets to emerge. This can work in a variety of ways. Start first and foremost by exploring, listing out the different aspects of you. Start to look at which ones you're hiding more. There's a need to hide it a bit. Start to look at which ones you'd like to actually be more playful with and exploring and expressing in the world. Allow yourself first and foremost to have all of that. Play with it in your own space, your own way. And then start to look at different opportunities to allow yourself to be seen as that with the people in your life and your living. Step out of the shadows, step into the light, and see what else is possible. This is a big one. There's many layers to it. You can always reach out to me at lauren@laurenpolly.com. You can connect with me on social media, Lauren Polly Coaching, and take a look at the big billboard yourself. It's quite fun and fascinating. And then we'll just continue these explorations and these conversations. But let me know how it goes. Have an amazing week. And as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday.